You guys see I have the city of Cincinnati behind me, but what I'm going to be showing you guys today is my top 10 NBA teams, my top 10 teams and my power rankings after free agency, y'all, what the teams are looking like, because most of the rosters are probably going to be how they are at the start of the season next year, y'all, so stay tuned. We'll go 10 to number 1, starting with the worst, going to the best, y'all. Enjoy the video. Starting off at number 10 is the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics did a lot of big changes this year to the roster. Their big signing being Kemba Walker. They signed a 4-year max deal to Kemba Walker, having a career year last season, and gave you 26 points a night, along with 6 assists and 4 rebounds. I expect him to turn more into a playmaker. I feel like last year the problem with Kyrie Irving is that he took too many isolation plays and really just cared for himself. It really took a lot of motion and a lot of confidence out of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and it was really hard for those two to get their rhythm, especially late in games. They also signed Enes Kanter, a solid big man who averaged 13 a game for the Portland Trail Blazers the last 23 games of the season last year. I think Enes Kanter is a very solid offensive player. Of course, defensively, he is one of the lower-tiered big men, but I think from an offensive perspective, he's really going to help this team, y'all. They also got in the draft in the first round Romeo Langford, Indiana guard, 6'6", who gave you 17 points a game last year for Indiana. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to be a solid backup guard for this team, y'all. He's going to really develop into a solid guard. Of course, they did lose Kyrie Irving to the Brooklyn Nets, and they lost Al Horford, a very solid veteran big man, to the Philadelphia 76ers. Overall, I would give their offseason a B or a B+. I think the additions they got to the team were very solid, but of course, losing Kyrie Irving and Al Horford, despite the fit not being there, losing two of those players as good as they are, you can't get an A for that, y'all. So I'm going to give them a B this year and 10th on the NBA power rankings after free agency. At number 9, y'all, is the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, in my opinion, I'm just going to tell you guys straight up, had an A+ offseason. They signed Kyrie Irving, they signed Kevin Durant, they signed DeAndre Jordan, forming a big three, getting Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, in my opinion, 2 of the top 10 players in this league. Of course, Kevin Durant will be out all next season, recovering from his Achilles injury, y'all, but I think getting those 2 was their goal. Getting 2 max slots was their goal with this team and their roster, and they accomplished that goal, y'all. Obviously, they lost D'Angelo Russell and the sign and trade they gave Kevin Durant, y'all, but besides losing D'Angelo Russell, the same team is there. Joe Harris, Jared Allen, very solid players that they kept around this team, y'all. Karis LeVert. I think adding Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan to that team right there, I think they're already going to be a top 3, top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, and I think can make it to the second round. I think they'll have trouble getting past the Sixers or the Bucks, but I think any other team in the Eastern Conference, they can beat them in a 7-game series. I think Kyrie Irving's skills really match the skill set of the players around him that will be supporting him for the rest of the season, y'all. Overall, I think Kyrie Irving's going to have a very solid season, and depending on what Kevin Durant's going to look like in 2020, 2021, you got to give the Nets an A+ this season, y'all. They got the 2 max free agents. They got Kyrie. They got Durant. They got DeAndre Jordan as well. Very solid work by the Brooklyn Nets this offseason. A+, number 9 on my power rankings. At number 8, y'all, we have the Portland Trail Blazers, so I give a B+ for the off-season grade, y'all. They did make a huge trade for Hassan Whiteside because their big man, Yusuf Nurkic, is still recovering from his leg injury and won't be back till probably about January or February. Getting Hassan Whiteside, y'all, I'm not a big Hassan Whiteside fan, but if he can upgrade his defensive game, y'all, he can be a very solid fit for this team. They also signed Kent Bazemore, who I've been a big fan of from the Atlanta Hawks. Kent Bazemore gave you 12 points a game last year, along with 4 rebounds. A very solid scorer for the Atlanta Hawks. I could see him giving the same impact, being a third option, or being someone off the bench that can give you solid points and solid buckets towards the end of the game for this team, y'all. They also signed Mario Hezonja from the New York Knicks, y'all, someone who gave you 9 points a game last year. Very solid fit, y'all. He wants to improve his three-pointer, in my opinion, y'all, only shooting 28% last year. I think he can be a very solid addition to the team if he works on his jump shot, y'all, and he works on his scoring. He's been a solid defender, giving you 1 steal a game last year. If he improves that and he improves his three-point shooting, y'all, he can be very solid for this team. Besides that, y'all, they really kept the same team around CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. I expect Lillard to have another great season like he did last year, possibly first-team All-NBA, but we will see what happens, y'all. Overall, I give this team a B+ for their offseason. Very impressed, and I'm excited to see what they can do after going to the Western Conference Finals last season. Coming in at number 7 are the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets last season were the second best team in the Western Conference, lost in the Western Conference semifinals, though, to the Portland Trail Blazers in 7 games. They did not do too much this offseason. What they did was they re-signed Jamal Murray, a very talented young guard, one of the best young talents in the NBA, only 22 years old. I'm very excited to see what he can do in these next 5 years with the team. They also brought back Paul Millsap on a player option for his last year on his deal. They did draft Bol Bol, who a lot of people passed up, mainly due to the fact of his injury problems. I don't know if they know something that we don't, but a lot of teams skipped up on him. They did sign him, though. They basically got the same team. And as for Michael Porter, he was supposed to come back for the Summer League, but in a practice for the Summer League team, he did sprain his knee, and he will be out for the rest of the Summer League, and he is expected to be healthy at the start of training camp in September. Overall, I'd give this team a B or a B+. I think it's solid to just keep the team they had. They're one of the best teams in the league, and they're still very young. They had their first rodeo last year, going to the playoffs, going to the Western Conference semifinals. I'm very impressed. I think Jokic and Murray are going to have a very solid year next year. Overall, B or B+. Number 6, I would put the Utah Jazz right there, y'all. The Utah Jazz had an amazing offseason, being their big trade, of course, being Mike Conley. Mike Conley, a very solid guard, one of the best defending guards in the NBA, one of the best playmakers at 32 years old. He had to get out of Memphis, y'all. Memphis is going in a complete different direction on where they should be taking a 32-year-old point guard. He still has game. He can still give you 18 points a night. He is still one of my favorite guards in the league. I think he's going to really help Donovan Mitchell in his game. Really, ever since John Stockton, the Jazz have always had a problem trying to find a true point guard to help the rest of the team, y'all. I think this is going to be the help right there. I think he's going to really help Donovan Mitchell going into his junior year. And they also signed Bojan Bogdanovic, being their big free agent. That they signed a very solid three-point shooter, a solid defender from the Pacers. I expect him to have a huge impact, y'all. Looking at the team they got right now, I think it's clear to see that they will be one of the best, or probably the best defensive team in the league next year, y'all. They kept Rudy, got Bojan. I'm very impressed, y'all. Very excited to see what this team can do. And overall, I'd give them an offseason grade of an A. At number 5, y'all, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers had a pretty interesting offseason, y'all. They let go of Jimmy Butler. I shouldn't say they let him go, but he decided to go to Miami in a sign-and trade. They got back Josh Richardson, one of the most athletic players in the league, y'all. Going into his 4th season, I'm very excited to see what he can do, y'all. Very athletic, can score the basketball. Can improve on his three-point shot, y'all, but had a very solid season last year with the Miami Heat. They also signed Al Horford, a very talented defensive big from the Boston Celtics. They got Kyle O'Quinn, a very solid big man, and they re-signed Tobias Harris. I think Tobias Harris really complements Ben Simmons' game. And, of course, keeping Joel Embiid. They did lose J.J. Redick, which is kind of the loss, y'all. But getting Josh Richardson, getting Al Horford, getting Tobias Harris back, I got to give this team an A. Going into the West or the Eastern Conference next year, y'all, I could see them being a top 3 seed and possibly overall the second best team in the conference. And I expect them to go to the conference finals at the very least next year. Overall, got to give this team an A for their offseason. It would be an A+ if they somehow kept Jimmy Butler, but, you know, shit happens. At number 4, guys, we have the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets are going into next season with basically the same team, but instead they flipped out Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook, along with 2 future first-round picks and 2 future second-round picks. I think this is going to be a very fun team to watch. Obviously, they kept PJ Tucker, like I said, Eric Gordon, Clint Capella. I expect them to re-sign him on Shumpert. They kept really everyone, y'all. They also kept Austin Rivers. I expect this team to do very special things, y'all. They did not get Nene back, but I'm excited to see what James Harden and Russell Westbrook can do back together. Of course, we know what Russell Westbrook brings to the table, has averaged a triple-double for the last 3 seasons, and as we know what James Harden can do, averaged 36 a game last year, averaged 40 a game in the month of January. In my opinion, should have won on MVP, but of course, Giannis was on the best team. But I'm excited to see what this team can do, y'all. I think from a box office standpoint, this is going to be one of the most entertaining teams to watch. But I'm interested to see who handles the ball the most. I think, honestly, what would help them is if Westbrook was the main point guard for the team and Harden played more off the ball, because obviously James Harden is a better three-point shooter than Russell Westbrook. But I'm interested to see, y'all. Of course, they want to play together, but we'll see what happens, y'all. Overall, I'd give them an A, just due to the fact they had to make a change. They kind of hit a panic button, I will admit. But seeing what the rest of the Western Conference, especially the top-tier teams, what they did to improve, the Rockets had to make a move. This was a solid one right here. Getting Russell Westbrook and James Harden reunited. Overall, got to give them an off-season grade of an A. Number 3, we are going to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks signed Robin Lopez, re-signed Brook Lopez, got the Lopez brothers on the same squad, re-signed Chris Middleton. Very solid player, 19 a game, all-star last season. Signed Wesley Matthews, a solid shooting guard that can give you around 10 to 12 points a night from the Indiana Pacers. But they did lose Nikola Mirotic. He went overseas to Barcelona for a huge deal. I think it's a 4-year, $79 million contract that he got, somewhere around there. And they also re-signed George Hill. Overall, I would give this team grade a B. Losing Nikola Mirotic is kind of an L. But yeah, I might move it up to a B plus due to the fact they were the number 1 seed last year. They had the best record in the league. Losing Kawhi Leonard from the Toronto Raptors, that does make them the favorites, in my opinion, to win the Eastern Conference next year. I think Giannis is going to have a very solid offseason. He, like I said, is only 24 years old. He won MVP. You just look at that MVP speech, yo. He just looks determined for a championship. He looks extra motivated. I can really see him working on his jump shot. If he knocks down, say he gets his three-pointer up to maybe like a 35, 37% one day, yo, the league will be in shambles. I promise, yo. He's right there with everyone else, yo. I'm so excited this week and do next year, yo. I would like them to somehow try and get Chris Paul if he is bought out by the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think Chris Paul would actually be a perfect fit there, y'all. But we'll see what happens, y'all. As of right now, they're third in my power rankings. Off-season grade, B+. And now coming in at number 2 are the Los Angeles Clippers. Los Angeles Clippers signed Kawhi Leonard, the big-name free agent this year, y'all. Going off a year where he won Finals MVP, averaged 38 games in the playoffs, brought Toronto their first NBA championship. Possibly a top 2 player in the league. Some people would say number 1. And to top that off, they re-signed Patrick Beverley, who had an amazing season last year. Had some really iconic moments in the playoffs in the first round against the Golden State Warriors and Kevin Durant. And they traded for Paul George, giving up Gilgeous-Alexander, giving up Danilo Gallinari, and giving up 5 first-round picks and 2 future second-round picks. I think the Clippers looked at it like this. They saw the Lakers got Anthony Davis. If they could not be the team in LA last year or the last 6 years, and the Lakers just got Anthony Davis and all these free agents, if they couldn't be the team back then, they will never be close to the Lakers in box office or ratings or popularity in the city of LA. Especially if they get Anthony Davis and the Clippers strike out on every single free agent. I think they had to do this, y'all. I think it sets up for them perfectly to contend next year. You look at defensively. This has to be one of the greatest defensive teams of all time historically. You have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, 2 of the greatest wing defenders of all time. Possibly the 2 best wing defenders in the league right now. You keep Patrick Beverley. You keep Montrezl Harrell. You keep Zubac. This is going to be such a solid team. Now you still got Lou Will as well. The best 6th man of all time. As a Lakers fan, as a LeBron fan, I was salty about this. I thought Kawhi was going to come to the Lakers. Things don't work out the way you want them to sometimes, y'all, but overall, I'll give this team an A+. Jerry West doing his thing. Doc Rivers doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? A+. And now number 1, y'all, are the Los Angeles Lakers. We know the story. Traded for Anthony Davis. Signed DeMarcus Cousins. Signed Danny Green. Danny Green, you know, by the way, 2 years, $30 million contract. A little overpaid, but 2-time champion. At some points, played very well for the Raptors. At other times, just went really cold in the playoffs, y'all. They also signed Quinn Cook, a very solid point guard, shooter from the Golden State Warriors. Signed Jared Dudley, a solid defender, solid forward that can score the basketball at some points. And they signed Avery Bradley. We know what Avery Bradley brings to the table, y'all. The last 16 games of the year last year, he averaged 13 a game with the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm excited to see what he can bring. He's a very solid defender. He played very well for the Boston Celtics a couple years back. I feel this team, compared to the 2018-19 Lakers, is much more all around. They have specialists. They have someone that is good at almost everything. Last year, you look at the main problems. Defense, not rebounding. They were a solid rebounding team, but defense and shooting. They get Danny Green. They get Quinn Cook. They get Avery Bradley. They get Anthony Davis, one of the best three-point shooting big men in the league. DeMarcus Cousins can even spread the floor sometimes. Despite shooting 27% from 3 last year, we have seen him at some points in his career shoot around 35, 36% from 3. Re-signing JaVale McGee, also a great positive. He had a very solid year last year, especially at the beginning and end. Was a little sick at the end, yo. And then, of course, a healthy LeBron James. This is LeBron's longest offseason that he has ever had in his career since 2005. I'm excited to see he can bring to the table, yo. And they keep Kyle Kuzma, gave you 18 a game last year. Being the third option probably for this team. I mean, you're looking at a lineup possibly. If they start LeBron at point guard, which has been rumored, you have at point guard LeBron James, shooting guard Danny Green, small forward Kyle Kuzma, power forward Anthony Davis, and at the 5, either DeMarcus Cousins or JaVale McGee. If you look at this team, you have to give their offseason grade at an A+. In my opinion, they are the favorites. Vegas says they're the favorites. They are the favorites to win the NBA championship in 2020, yo. I'm very excited to see what they can do, yo. And that is my NBA power rankings, 1 through 10, post-free agency. And that will do it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This took a lot of time. Like I said, comment down your top 5 NBA teams in order 1 through 5. Tell me who you think is the best team in the league right now. Like I said, I think it's the Lakers with LeBron going for the 4th ring for LeBron, number 17 for the Lakers. Fam, let's get it, let's go. We're on a mission this year. Lake Show, we in this thing. Let's get it, let's go. Thank you guys so much. Leave a like and subscribe if you guys are new. All loves 2019. And yeah, big things coming. Let's get it, let's go.